Any of my viewers who've been around for quite some time know that this year we unboxed my first ever pair of night vision goggles, the digital Goyojo GNG 2Ks. Which is more or less why I am so excited now anytime a company reaches out and wants me to check out something designed specifically for night vision stuff, because I've never gotten to experience it before. Fast forward to a few months later when I was reached out to by a company known as RovyVon to check out the second in my lineup of night vision designed attachments, the GL2 series, or in this case, the IR model. Speed unboxing. Now, I wasn't too sure what I was getting into when I had looked at the options here. There was 4 different options between the Viz, the IG, the IR, and the WIL, and unfortunately, it looks like they're all very restricted to what they can do, and none of them cover all bases. It also appears that externally they went with the same model and design as all other models and designs, except internally each individual one is going to work a little bit different and have different capabilities, whether it be white light and laser, illuminator and laser, IR illuminator and green laser, and white light and green laser. I went with the IR illuminator and IR laser just because I was really hyped up that it's a night vision style laser and light. It would also appear if you're ever confused, it shows you on the side all of the different options and what turns it on, what turns it off, in case you forget on the field. It is a little bit odd that 0 and 4 are both off switches, when I guess it seems like since they kept the same model internally, all they did was adjust what was inside of it, rather than changing the amount of switches on the dial. I just feel like on this model, you could have just scratched off the 4 and pretended it was never there, and no one would notice the difference. The slight negative that I do notice is it comes with a CR123A battery, and I do like the fact that it comes with a battery. However, I wish it didn't need a battery, because batteries seem to be like a recurring investment, and whenever you pick up something and need batteries, well, the batteries are going to continue to cost you, so it's kind of like constant providing or monthly payments. So I just wish it was rechargeable. But to put the battery in, you're going to switch this little dot to match up with the dot on the right, and the battery cap will pop off. And then we're going to drop the battery in with the negative side facing down. And you got to make sure that these 3 diodes match up with those guys up there. So since we're going to twist it off to the left, we're going to install it like this. Line up those dots and twist. It's really cool too. I don't know if you saw that. It has an O-ring there, which is going to help keep moisture out, which is really cool to see. Small additions like that are really important. Oh, it's got a little battery symbol here too. Inside the box, it also comes with 2 different Picatinny rail adapters, depending on what type of Picatinny rail you're throwing this on. If it needs something a little bit skinnier, it includes the GL, and if not, it's got the 1913. Something else really interesting they include is a small Allen key, whereas you're going to need flatheads in order to install this and make any adjustments. I'm interested to see what these 4 do when you pop them off. It also includes a washer, which I'm not sure what that's for, but also a spare O-ring. The entire exterior of this model is made from a 7075 aluminum alloy. Battery included weighs just under 100 grams. It also includes an IP68 waterproof rating, and the illuminator cooks at 400 watts, which you're gonna have to wait for because you won't be able to see it in the daytime without NVGs on. But we perform our 1-2 switcheroo on the Novrich SSP28 and pop off the O light and see what this looks like on the underside of this sidearm. I'd like to talk about the usefulness of this, and specifically this model as a whole, because I don't really know what I think about it. Nice to see that this guy is under spring tension. It helps keep everything nice and in place, and also makes installation a little bit easier. Mount this as far back as we can. I just don't know how far back we're going to be able to mount it on the SSP28 specifically. Oh, it fits. Basically, having this entire thing mounted on the bottom of your sidearm takes away the idea that you can now have a flashlight or an actual laser when needed. And in a dark and nighttime environment, is it actually going to be more worthwhile for you to have an IR laser and illuminator rather than the accessibility of something like a standard laser and flashlight? Well, that comes with maybe a yes and maybe a no. You see, in something like Airsoft, you can make the argument that obviously a flashlight is going to be more useful in most cases. Sure. Chances are your primary already has one. However, if you go into a small, close quarters area and you need something like a IR laser and the enemies, like an Airsoft, in most cases don't have night vision to begin with, this will allow you to go in super stealthy, see things at a greater distance and a greater brightness, target your enemies even before they see you. That is, if you're quiet enough. I'm not trying to say that a standard flashlight isn't the way to go, because yeah, you're going to get more use out of a flashlight, sure, but if you already have one on your person and you don't already have an IR laser on your primary, maybe this is something you want to look into. I will say though, on the SSP28 it does look kind of nice and it fits pretty seamlessly. Plus, with all the different like gunmetal gray parts, it looks a little futuristic too. I do want to see though, so some of these things like the up and down, this is your windage and elevation switches. Your elevation, ooh, it's a very nice click in place, and I would imagine on the opposing side, so does your windage. It does. It's a really nice, satisfying click in place. You obviously won't see anything on your end unless it's nighttime and we have NVGs on, so we'll get to that in a minute. But this is your dial, and the dial is going to allow us to turn on the different modes, whether it be the laser illuminator and what have you. It's a little hard to get in there if you don't have fingernails, especially if you have gloves on. I don't know how I feel about this. I almost wish that this was protruded a little bit more so you had more access to it readily on the field rather than having it preset and just needing to turn it on and off. And speaking of on and off switch, here's your on off switch. It is a simple paddle to twist on and off. And you can see there's a little illuminator back here, so you'll know if it's on before you look through the NVGs, which is cool. And I like the fact that this is pointing back at you. The only negative is that light. If someone else has NVGs, you're gonna see it. It's nice that it's facing behind you, but if they're at the side, you might still get a little glimmer there, and we'll check that out after. As for a shockproof rating, I don't know. There's nothing written down in the instructions or in the description of this model, so I'm going to assume that it has some sort of a shockproof rating, but really not a whole lot else for me to do here besides turn the lights off, so I'll see you at nighttime. The sun has fallen, and the night is on us. We added a tracer to this guy, and some tracer BBs, because I thought it'd be more fun that way. A large portion of this is going to have to be pretty quick, just because I don't want to bother my neighbors and whatnot, but you can see we have the sidearm in front of us, and I don't know if it's just something with the digital night vision or if it works with analog too, but for some reason if it's in focus far away, it is not in focus up close. It's just how it's going to be. But you can go ahead and see now we turn on the laser, and that is the IR laser, so you won't be able to see this with your naked eye, only with night vision. Super cool. Go ahead and turn that off nice and fast, and then turn it back on again. And it goes quite far, actually, if you really check that out. And I'll go ahead and set it up for our next mode here. And the next mode is going to be the illuminator. And basically the illuminator, what that does is it functions like a flashlight during the nighttime with your regular eyes, but instead a flashlight only you can see with NVGs. Here we go. Boom. How much brighter that makes it. And you can't see this with the naked eye. You can only see this through NVGs, which is really cool. I'm going to stop diddling around now. Don't want to upset my neighbors. Back to the regular camera. Fast forward to the next day here. I gotta say, I do wish that I was in a position where I had some sort of like an indoor area where I could do these kinds of things so you can get a better idea. I could shoot a little bit more. I could see what I'm doing, because it just gets very, very, very dark over by me. And any light pollution causes issues, and I can't use any of the camera stuff because the camera lighting as well distorts the night vision goggles. But I will say it works. It does work. I have shot a handful of rounds through it, and then during the day, hardly in a position where I could see the light. I checked, and it is holding a 0 for now. So as long as that continues to hold up, I don't see why it wouldn't work for you. Do I think that you are going to want to confine yourself to something that is strictly IR related? Probably not. I think you are probably going to want something that has a flashlight on for your sidearm. It's a very interesting idea, and I think it definitely has its merit, but when it's taking up this much space on the bottom of a sidearm, like I said, I think a flashlight, I think if this had a flashlight and IR combo, that would probably be the laser combo, that would probably be the best of both worlds. You'd have the flashlight and the IR lasers. You could be sneaky if you want and still be able to, I guess, hip fire at people if you needed to, and then still have the flashlight in case you needed to use a flashlight without NVGs to begin with. It would also be really cool if they could utilize all 4 of these slots individually, and we could see something like green laser, IR flashlight, regular flashlight, and it had all of it built in, but I understand it's such a small model. I can't imagine that that's very easy. So first of all, thank you, RovyVon, for sending this guy out. I had a blast checking it out. Again, I wish I had better night capabilities of filming. I don't have the equipment for it or the space for it right now. And until next time, catch you in the next adventure. Peace!